Hello and welcome to another Sunday Superversive live stream. I am your host, Ben Wheeler, and I'm here with Rawle Nyanzi, who's here to talk about his new project, Shining Tomorrow, and all the little stuff around it that I know you all love. All right, Rawle, how about you tell us about Shining Tomorrow? What's the plot? What are we looking at here?
Uh, Shining Tomorrow is a story about about a civic-minded high school girl who has to free her friend from an evil private military corporation. And because this corporation uses giant monsters in its work, she has to do it with a giant robot.
Of course, classic. So is it just fighting the PMC? Is there other things happening? I read on the um, website, which is linked down below, that there's a lot of alternate history. Um, are you how is it? Are you mingling the two together, or is it more of a focus on the girl, the giant robot, and the kaiju that she must pummel into love and friendship?
Well, you see, the alternate history was just so that, it was just a bit of a bonus for readers. They don't have to read that to understand the action of the story. In the
Mm-hmm.
book, I wrote the book in such a way that you don't need to have read the historical lore to get what's going on. And though I do make references to stuff in the backstory in the book.
Right, of course.
That's just, you see, it's just meant to give you the kind of background of the world you're in. You
Yeah.
know, but right from page one, you'll see that we're not talking about, this era right here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, but what is clearly an alternate history.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, what inspired you to make Shining Tomorrow? Like, what's your biggest influences here?
Well, there are three main sources of inspiration for this novel. One is actual history.
Mm-hmm.
If you read a bit of the lore, you'll see exactly how, especially the history of this country, the U.S. of A.
Right, right.
Yeah, a novel. Okay, a novel written in the '90s by Robert Harris. This novel is called Fatherland. It's a novel in which the Nazis win World War II, and it's about a police detective who has to investigate the murder of a Nazi official, but he is told by his superiors not to investigate. But of course, he's like, why? Why should I not investigate something this important?
Mm-hmm.
And the Nazi government really doesn't want him to investigate. So he has to evade them as he tries to get to the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it
And
so this was an inspiration for Shining Tomorrow.
yes, one of them.
Mm.
And the third thing would be the Marvel universe. Because what I'm trying to do with Shining Tomorrow is tell a set of superheroic stories, that takes place in an alternate history. Because what you'll notice about most superhero stories is that most of them basically take place in the present day. Yes, you have some that take place in the historic past, and
Right.
some that take place in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But the lion's share of superhero stories, whether you're talking about America or Japan or whatever, they take place in the present day, in contemporary times. I
Yeah.
wanted I wanted to freshen up the genre a bit by breaking that trend.
And so you're setting it a little into the future.
Not just a little into the future, but the future of an alternate history.
Of course.
Yeah, you see the main point of divergence. All right, you see, unlike Brian Niemeyer's, where he says it doesn't diverge, this one very clearly does. And the point of divergence is 1914, 1914.
where you have I did read this part where you have the Paris fireball, where a meteor strikes France and Paris and the French army. Is that right?
Correct.
Mm.
This gives Germany an easy victory. And as a result, a lot of things are different. And another rule that I have as a result of that is any real life figures that were born after 1916, that's 1916, 1916, do not exist. That means,
Oh, okay.
yeah. That means famous figures that we know, such as, say, Martin Luther King, Fidel Castro, etc., and so on and so forth. People who were born, people who had a significant historic impact but were born after 1916 simply do not exist in this timeline.
So you're shuffling the deck in preparation for your wild and crazy tale and shining tomorrow.
Yes, whereas Shining Tomorrow takes place in 2053.
Mm-hmm. Of course. So how are you going to evolve the tech into it? Is it going? Obviously, they have giant mechas. Is it more of a how should I put it? Brian Niemeyer's book is very more sciencey. But I've read Bradford Walker's Star Knight saga, or sorry, what? No, excuse me. There's a lot of people doing Star Wars stuff, and sometimes I get them backed up. I almost said
Yeah, Star Knight Saga is correct.
Yes, where it's not exactly anti-science or anything like that, but I would put it on the I don't know how any of this works side of science fiction, but it's pretty dang awesome. Are you more on the Brian Niemeyer side of things or the Bradford Walker?
I'm more on the Bradford Walker side of things. In that you see, you have to understand how the mech genre originated.
Mm-hmm.
It originated as basically a variant of the superhero genre.
Right.
Yeah. And my story, as I said, was primarily based on superheroes, on the superheroic. So as a result, my mechs will be much more on the super robot side than the real robot side.
I gotcha. So the pilot of it is, of course, an ordinary schoolgirl who is thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Classic. Tell us about her. What's her name, and what does she like to do? And what you mentioned her best friend was kidnapped by an evil PMC, probably on the moon, and probably with an evil witch as a leader. Why don't you walk us through her?
All right. Our protagonist is Irma Mizuho Kaneyasu. She is a member of a humanitarian group known as the Young Elegant Ladies of the West. Their main thing to do is they do things such as feed the homeless. They take care of the children of working moms. They teach, the older ones teach in elementary schools. They do a lot of community service type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and Irma really, but they do all this in preparation for married life.
Of course. I've heard about this stuff in Japan, in various animes and stuff like that. Flower arranging, archery, that sort of thing.
Well, typically they don't practice combat.
No.
Yellow doesn't practice combat typically, although there is one member of Irma's group that does.
Of course.
As a result of this, you see, she's in this group that demands a lot from her because her own life goals are aligned with those of the group. You see, what is common in these types of stories is to have the girl be super rebellious and such. Not her.
Right. overthrow the status quo, um, whether or not it's justified.
Yeah, she is. I consciously wrote her to be the opposite of that.
I like it, and so it creates a greater contrast when she's uh, creating the giant. When she's in the giant robot fighting the giant monsters.
Yes, yes, and indeed I try to highlight that contrast in the text itself. It's with a couple of beta readers right now. Only
Hmm.
time will tell if I succeeded at it or not, but at least I tried.
Of course. And it's I can see how it could be a delicate thing. You take a character, you throw her into a combat situation. You have to make sure that it's a proper growth from normal to the extraordinary, without sort of I don't know if you've ever made a poached egg, but it's sort of the same situation. You want to swirl it just right to create a delicious meal at the end of it, but it can
Oh,
be
absolutely.
broken so easily.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had to be very careful with that. I tried to kind of slow walk her into her heroic role because as I point out throughout, especially the beginning, she really, really, really doesn't want to do this.
Right. But then
Yeah,
you tell her to get
yeah,
back in the cockpit and fight the giant monster, Shinji. Uh,
yeah, yeah. In fact, it's her mother who is often urging her to get in the robot.
right, right. I like it. So you've got her mother. Is she just a mother, or is she also like a teacher or anything like that?
She's a Valkyrie.
Ah, yes. She passed on the giant robot to her daughter.
Yes.
Oh. So talk about the Valkyries for a bit. Were they a group of giant robots fighting monsters, and she expects her beloved daughter to follow in her footsteps?
Well, I mean, the Valkyries, they see, here's the thing about them. They're choosers of the slain. When somebody dies, they take their soul up to be judged.
Hmm.
Or if they had died a violent death, they take them to the lesser heaven. I mean, that's not really, I don't really go into like the lesser heaven in that book, but I'm just telling you it's there.
That's the plot of Swords and Flowers, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Yes, I did take some aspects from Sword and Flower and stick it in this universe.
I got you.
Yeah, but for the most part, they don't interfere on Earth, except Irma's mother.
Right,
But as a compromise for that, this isn't spoiler territory. This is like near the beginning of the book.
right.
Yeah, but as a
Right.
compromise for that, for coming to Earth, she had certain limitations put on her. One of those limits, her mother had certain limitations put on her. One of those limitations being that she can't wear armor.
Okay.
Yeah, and getting inside a giant robot counts as wearing armor.
I
So
get
the
you now.
Yeah, however, she had a daughter with a human man.
Right.
So,
Her
yeah, so
daughter
yeah,
can get into the armor and defeat the giant monsters.
yes,
Uh, Excellent. Have you read Jake and the Dynamo yet?
I have not. I
Ah,
haven't I have not, but I know that its author hangs out with us.
oh yeah. It's one of those situations where a lot of us hanging in the same group, same herd, but we just never have an opportunity to chat too much, which is why I'm glad for this opportunity, of course. I
Sure.
do recommend it to you because it's quite good, and it's in the same. I'm going to say, it's not magical girl genre. It's not quite Gundam for us as pure as say Combat Frame or
Star Knight.
Star Knight. But it's like if I were to say of the two of you, like you're more Jake and the Dynamo so far, at least what you've described. So she gets the armor from her mother.
Yes.
And the part of the mystery, I guess is there some mystery about her friend being kidnapped? Like that's the ongoing plot question.
Yes, there is a mystery.
Good.
There is something of a mystery. It has, yeah, yeah. There's, well, because in addition to the friend getting kidnapped, there's some rumor that this PMC is developing a weapon of mass destruction.
Right, Godzilla. But
That's not far from the truth, actually.
right. I mean, except for feeding it, it's the perfect idea. Um, so she goes out, she gets the mecha. I guess her friends still disappeared for a bit. Um, hmm. So overall, what are your goals for like the plot of it? Is it more of a vehicle to get awesome fights in, or are you looking to tell a certain story about adventure, or what are you kind of seeing for yourself?
Here are my goals with Shining. Here are my goals with Shining Tomorrow. Creating an extensive alternate history superhero universe, since it's not common to combine superheroes with that genre, as well as and yes, I do want to just tell superhero stories in this little world that I created.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, I originally was going to go with a tightly plotted structure like what Brian Niemeyer was doing, but then I saw Princess Mononoke, and
Mm,
then and that directly inspired what I'm planning for the sequel.
I gotcha. Have you written
The,
Shining Tomorrow already?
I've written the first book.
Ah, good, excellent.
Yeah. The sequel is still in the planning stages, but watching Princess Mononoke definitely helped me in that regard because I was agonizing for months on what it should be about.
So, are you pulling their nature themes out of Mononoke, or the um, instances of civilization versus natural order, that sort of thing?
Hmm. Well, I'm pulling. All right, all right. Yeah, I'm pulling well, not quite.
Okay.
I'm pulling the theme of of someone more advanced showing up and fighting someone more primitive.
Ah, I gotcha. So you're going to make the monsters. So the monsters are already pretty. Like, what are you changing from the first one to the sequel then?
Well, yeah. The type of threat. Well,
Hmm.
it's the type of threat because this time
Oh,
Irma won't be fighting a PMC.
right. It'll be more Gaia's vengeance, I guess.
No, not Gaia's vengeance. Let me
Hmm.
just put it this way. Yeah. Don't look down, look up.
Ah, I gotcha. Some aliens are coming in, wrecking our stuff, ruining our
Yeah,
crops. Oh man. Uh,
That's all I'll say.
yeah, that's all right. Uh, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, again, I wanted this to. Yeah, I was originally going to make it some tightly plotted thing, but then I decided to make it a bit more open ended because it's like the idea just popped into my head one time when I woke up in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, not only can I tell this story, I can tell a bunch of others too.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep this going because I could always think of a new threat or some kind of new enemy, and I could just write that.
Absolutely.
One thing I said on my blog is that I'm going to write at least 4 books,
All right.
and I'm not necessarily building up toward a specific ending either.
Mm. Okay. Sure. I mean, if it's like 4 individual series or movies in book form, I think that would do quite well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I can't think of an argument against the idea. I do think having an overarching plot in any series is a great idea, just to keep readers moving in between stories.
well,
Like back, Larry Correa's one of his original trilogies, the Hard Magic one.
yeah. I
He
love that one.
introduced, yeah, it's pretty great. But I noticed that compared to like Monster Hunter, um, Son of the Black Sword, all those other ones, the gap between Hard Magic's villain of the chairman with the villain of the second and third one is that it's introduced in the end as something that the chairman was preparing for, but it's not in any way. At least, I haven't read it in a couple of years, but I did review it for Vox Day way back in the day.
Right.
It didn't feel the I didn't feel the pull from one book to another. Eventually, though, I did buy the whole series, and it was pretty great. But without an overarching something, like it doesn't have to be, cackling on the Iron Throne. These,
Oh yeah,
fools, these worldly.
well, it is a bit inaccurate to say that I have no plan at all. What I
Oh,
have is a vague idea of where it will go.
I get you. I get
Yeah,
you.
you see, yeah, you see.
Yeah.
Okay, if you read the historical lore, you'll also notice that, especially in the later parts, that that it talks about a rivalry with Germany.
Yes.
And in later books, I do intend to build upon that.
I get you. I like that idea.
Because it's like Japan and Germany are in like a Cold War type situation. It could be compared to The Man in the High Castle, which I deliberately avoided watching to avoid being influenced by it subconsciously.
Very good. I've tried reading Man in the High Castle. I'm not a big fan, and thus I never watched
The Amazon show.
the Amazon show. But that's all right. I try to stay away from that stuff too. That's
Yeah,
more.
but unlike Man in the High Castle, you see, it's not a case where Germany and Japan have divided the U.S. in half. It's more a case where, all right, look at it this way. Japan controls all of the U.S. except the area east of the Rockies, north of the Oklahoma River, and west of the Mississippi.
Right.
Yeah, that place, that area I mentioned there is Middle America, which is simply an independent state. It's an independent state, that's supported by the Germans.
We basically are an independent state already. Uh,
Yeah, but of course as you notice, it's landlocked too.
yeah.
I mean, that was an artifact of the World War III that's mentioned frequently in the book.
hmm I dig it. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So you've already got some fan art, which can be seen on your website, or is it commissioned it?
Oh, that's commissioned.
I dig it. So I saw that there's what was her name? Crimson Shoujo.
Yeah, Shoujo Crimson.
Shoujo Crimson. Thank you. So what's up with Shoujo Crimson? Like what's her deal? We see Irma Kaniyasu, and now we see Shoujo Crimson.
Shoujo Crimson is Irma Kanayasu.
Whoa!
That's not a spoiler.
No,
I've been saying that. I've been saying that literally all over all of the stuff I've been promoting it.
Fantastic. So why does she take up an alternate personality?
It's because of what I said earlier. She prides herself on being womanly, and she believes that, well, real women don't use violence. So, but she has to use violence to free her friend. So she develops this other persona to kind of dissociate, the violence from herself.
Fantastic. Will that come up in character conflict where it starts to take a life of its own and possess her in sort of a way?
Well, I tried to do that, but it didn't flow well with the story. If it didn't flow well with the story, so I handled it another way instead.
Fantastic. Of course, there's always that good gag. It's like, oh wow, Shoujo Crimson's so cool. Everyone's like, "Oh, really?" And it's like, "Yeah, but you're not as cool." Oh, that's always a great gag to have.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we've talked about the plot. Irma Kanayasu is going to receive a giant mecha from her Valkyrie mother, which is absolutely fantastic, and then fight. Various kaiju from the PMC and then other threats beyond in later book. Um, Developing an alternate persona to protect her, I guess, personality and character and everything.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a pretty crazy ride. Um,
Yeah, I sure hope the readers think so.
Absolutely, you've certainly convinced me to. Let's see, you're going to do a. Is it an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter that you're going to do for this?
Most likely, yeah, most likely an Indiegogo because that's easier to set up.
Yeah, and honestly, I've seen more success for books from novels anyway from Indiegogo than I've seen from Kickstarter recently.
Ah,
Uh, Especially with Brian Niemeyer and John Della Roz and others, with the success they've been having. And I guess what are your plans for the Indiegogo?
I'm footing most of the bills for like for putting the book together myself. So
Hmm.
yeah, so the plan for the Indiegogo is actually to try and fund an audio adaptation.
Ah, do you already have a cover?
Yes, I have. Well,
Excellent.
I have a cover for the ebook. I'm still going to wait on the beta readers. Okay, I'm going to wait on the beta readers
Hmm.
so that I can make some last minute changes and then talk to somebody to do like the spine for the print cover because I need
Right.
to know exactly how many pages I'm going to be dealing with.
Hmm. I understand. It's pretty complicated, even for a guy like me who works with Superversive Press. Um, yeah. Of course, it's not as complicated as what the people have to do to actually make it, but talking about it gets pretty weird. Um, okay. So, audio adaptation. Do you have somebody in mind to read it out?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Moira Grayland.
Ah, that's an excellent choice. She has an excellent voice.
Yes, she
Uh,
does.
have you talked to her about it already?
Yes, I have. We worked out a price and everything.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. So, what sort of rewards are you planning to put into the Indiegogo?
Just fairly simple stuff like get a copy of the book, an
Mm-hmm.
electronic copy, a hard copy, the audio itself, because this is what we're trying to fund.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to copy Brian Niemeyer here and do the be in a book, be killed in a book type of thing.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, yeah, but be in a book and be killed but in a book. It doesn't mean you'll get killed in the current book. You'll probably get killed in the next book.
Oh, right, of course. Like once a book's already written, it's already written. But if you can
Yeah,
change a name or two, it makes it easy. Um,
but I don't want to. But I don't want to just change a name in an already written manuscript. I want to, be able to set it up a little.
oh, of course. You got to have that what's it, gravitas to it, so that they really feel like the character's getting killed off properly.
Yeah,
Um, let's see here. Yeah, but so you got the audiobook, soft hardcover, Be Killed in the Book. Um,
oh yeah, and also as a $500 tier, it will, you will get a chance to affect the canon by talking over with me, the plot of a novella.
I gotcha. That's pretty cool. That's always get somebody. Usually, everyone always likes to have their ideas in print somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Hmm. So you've got Moira Graylin Pete on the audiobook, and That's pretty cool. Hope she does well.
I hope so too, because she also did the voice for the video promo. Don't know if you saw it yet.
I did see it. I didn't recognize her voice, but I haven't also heard her say anything for quite some time. Um, let's see here. So about what are your goals, and then what will your stretch goals be for the Indiegogo?
Oh, the stretch goals for the Indiegogo?
Yeah.
I haven't thought of stretch goals as yet.
Mm.
Yeah, again, I don't intend to actually launch the Indiegogo, until maybe a couple weeks from now. It'll definitely
Hmm.
be sometime after I hear back from my beta readers.
I dig it. I mean,
Yeah, or after March 15th. Because if I don't hear back from them by March 15th, I'll just go forward anyway.
right. I personally don't worry about beta readers when it comes to these sort of things. You just have to push through, and then you can make any changes. It's not like people are like seeing the cook.
It's just that, I'm worried about the page count and the size of the spine and all that. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure I have all that straight before I do something like an Indiegogo.
No, I understand entirely. You gotta set up your things just right for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, so marketing wise, how are you looking on that? Twitter, I'm sure, Facebook, various groups.
Hmm. Yeah. Marketing has never been my strongest suit.
Mm,
So I'm honestly not sure.
okay.
I've just been so focused on getting all this done that I'm just not, and I don't even have a platform of Niemeyer's size, much less
Yeah.
someone like Larry.
Right. But we're all people who shill for each other. It's pretty nice. Um, do you have a Twitter or anything like that?
Oh, of course.
Oh, good. So you're better off than me, it seems like, um, when it comes to these things. Let's see. We've talked about Indiegogo, um, your goals, your rewards. We've talked about the plot. Uh, what else have you got to us? Like, what inspired you in the first? Like, we talked about the superhero movies and all that jazz. But what you said you woke up one day with the idea?
That was for the second novel.
So for the first novel, what was your thought chain towards working on this thing?
Well, yeah. Well, I was actually working on a different story, but then I was like, uh, this one's not working out too well. Let me write something else in the meantime.
Right.
It should only take me about a weekend. And then after junking a really, really boring prologue,
Mm-hmm.
started over again, and then I found that, hey, this is going somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just kept, and in one of my innumerable notebooks, I had written out what the plot would be like. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Here's the thing. When you write a story, whatever you put in that notebook is probably not going to be what It's probably not going to be what you end up actually writing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
I,
and and I just started going from there as much as possible. And what you'll find with this one is that it's an origin story.
mhm.
So it has a lot it has to do. It has to not only introduce this character, but introduce the world she lives in.
Of course, and that could be difficult. Do you have? So you have. So. Hmm. So talking about the world in general, are you going to add in like teachers and rivals and uh, characterization for whoever was captured by the PMC, the enemy commander, that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. For
Mm,
example, the main villain goes by the name Tuxedo Tommy Gun.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's a
Yeah,
fantastic name.
yeah. You see, I got the idea for him like this. I would watch Sailor Moon and notice that Tuxedo Mask would always throw a rose whenever she was in trouble. Yeah, whenever Sailor Moon was in trouble, to kind of help her out.
Yeah.
And then Sailor Moon would geek out over Tuxedo Mask and all that.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then I started thinking, it would be so much cooler if Tuxedo Mask had a submachine gun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of things just cooler. Just whip out your Tommy gun, solve a lot of problems,
Yeah,
flash
and
away.
yeah, and so I decided, and originally, the leader of this PMC was just going to be like just a normal guy in a suit. But then I was like, I could use the tuxedo Tommy gun concept for my villain.
Hmm. I mean, of course, you got to have dramatic fight scenes between the villain and the main character, and that's just a good way to do it. Give them a memorable gimmick, a memorable name, and it all works out great. I find.
Yeah, yeah, and he even has and how these bad guys usually have like a right hand woman.
Hmm.
He has that too.
Excellent. And what's her name?
Her name is Heidi Katsura.
Is she like a classmate of Irma's or anything like that?
No, she's a grown woman. She's not a high schooler.
That's a pity.
But unlike Irma, you see, she's a career woman.
Ah, so
You see
she's
in
abandoned the family for career, which makes her
well,
antithetical to the main character. I like it.
she didn't abandon her family. It's not like she's married or anything. Yeah,
Right.
but rather in this world, in the world of the story, career women are not terribly common.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's like I don't mean she like left everyone behind, but unmarried, no kids. Well, she
Yeah,
has kids, and her tragic death will, bring them into the forces of darkness, and make them a rival against the main character later. That also works.
you're guessing some stuff in the book. Well,
Classic.
well. Again, you didn't get it exactly right, but while she isn't a classmate of Irma's, she does know some people at Irma's school.
Ah, well, it's yeah. Honestly, it's if you have a good plot line, it can be guessable, but the delight is seeing how you can handle it and bring it into its full flower.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
not. Yeah, I'm obviously not giving away exact details.
right.
Or I can tell you that these things are in there, but I don't tell you how it plays out or how we get to it or what have you.
Hmm. I always I'm not really a big man who worries about spoilers or anything like that, but it's for other people. But it's mostly I'm just sort of like pushing things along, seeing what I can prod out. Um, for my own use, I guess, and for the enjoyment and pleasure of whoever happens to be watching with us.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see here. So what sort of themes are you putting into this story?
Yeah. This one is definite. Yeah, this one is definitely. Yeah, one theme I'm putting in here is, being honest with yourself
Hmm.
about what it is you really want, and about how you are as a person. Because again, one thing is that Irma really wants to help her friend, but then her ideals of being this perfect wife and mother, or rather trying to grow up to be this perfect wife and mother, kind of gets in the way of that, causing her to deny something that's a part of her, like
Hmm.
like a desire to fight evil.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the big one. a secondary one is is how the sausage is made.
Mhm.
You see. All right. The one thing the bad guy says in the book is that civilization was not built by nice girls in yellow blazers giving everyone pats on the head. It was built
Right,
by it was built by dangerous men who did everything they could to hold on to power.
right. I
I'm
like
not.
it. Hmm?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, again, I'm not telling you the context in which he said it, but you'll have to read the book for that.
Of
But he does
course.
say that.
And what does her father do?
Oh yeah, her father's a computer programmer. Pretty ordinary.
Ah, apparently it's so ordinary it attracts the Valkyrie. Um,
Yeah, yeah. You see, the thing with her father and her mother is that you could see it as kind of how in those romance animes where the ordinary guy falls for this like absolutely wonderful girl.
hmm
You can kind of see it as this is the result of that.
Right. I dig it. So it's like comes in violently on a winged steed. You shall be my husband. Lady, get out.
Well,
You disturbed my programming. What's wrong with you? I got to study for the test.
yeah. Well, it's not quite like that, but yeah,
Right,
it would be similar to that. Yes.
right. I dig it. There's a great version of that at Komi-san manga where the guy's absolutely silent. He doesn't like to talk to anyone at all, anytime. But his wife was this talking punk, and he won her over time by just being silent and there and competent
Ah.
until she fell into his heart, so to say.
Yeah, the thing with Irma's mother and father, although they don't focus on them a lot, it's meant to kind of play at that idea of what happens after a romance anime.
Right, right. What's wrong with you, dear? Why don't you stab your boss when he won't give you a raise? Honey, I swear, that's not how this world works. We're not in, the Valhalla or whatever it's called. You
Yeah,
can't just stab the person you don't like. It's impolite.
pretty much.
Yes, I like it. All right, so there's a lot of anime influences, superhero influences, Marvel, um,
Yeah,
alternate history, various novels. This all comes down to creating, um, a pretty heady mix that could do very well indeed. And I
yeah.
look forward to seeing it.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. What else have you got for us? What would you like to tell us in the
Well,
last 15 minutes or so?
yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. For one, Shining Tomorrow is coming in May of 2019, just as the
May of,
promo says.
May of 2019. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't give a specific date because something might happen, and I want there to be a little give.
Of course. I remember trying to get my Sheik of Mars out, and various things kept happening, and things had to get pushed back or pushed wherever. You just can't guarantee sometimes on a specific day.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just gave myself a whole month.
Perfect, and that's a great way to do it if you want to keep things smooth. Um, okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is that after I've written my four main Shining Tomorrow books, I'm going to give Isekai a shot.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. What sort of isekai? This is a pretty important question here.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what it's not going to be.
Right. Good. It's
Yeah.
not going to be I reincarnated into a vending machine in a dungeon or anything like that.
Oh
Uh,
no. Oh no,
but
this will be something quite different from this will be something quite different from what is typically done with isekai.
mhm,
Or rather, it'll be more well, I'll make it more similar to the classic isekai like Inuyasha or Escaflowne.
right, which was good. Isekai done properly.
Yes. Yeah, done properly. And yeah, and for the record, for all isekai are inferior to Inuyasha. All of them. Anyway,
Okay, you know what? I don't know. I feel like Escaflowne. I don't know, but Inuyasha. I don't know. I never could get into Inuyasha back when I was getting into anime. I never saw Escaflowne either. I need to correct that.
yeah,
But
you
JoJo's
do.
Bizarre Adventure waits for me. And that's my
Yeah.
heroine of choice. Let's see. So
What?
we've got Sword and Flowers that's already out. Um, we've got Shining Tomorrow that you're going to get an Indiegogo together pretty soon ish. Soon. It always comes in sooner than you think it will. Um,
Yeah.
and then we have a release date for May of 2019 this year.
Yeah.
And how soon are you going to see about publishing the next few books in the series?
Well, yeah. Well, for one, the audio version obviously is not going to come out in May.
Of course.
Yeah. And two, I'm not sure when like the next book will come out, but it's probably going to be next year.
Okay. I dig it. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. About how long was this? Is Shining Tomorrow turning out to be?
About 67K.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. It's not a bad length. I do recommend reading Magical Girl Dynamo to you. I think you and uh, Davidson are pretty close together in what your goals and outcomes might turn into. Not that I've read Shining Tomorrow yet, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I'm getting much the same vibe as Magical Girl Rev. Um,
yeah, I don't blame you, and I
yeah,
definitely give it a read.
absolutely. Um, it's also by Superversive Press. I should put a link in the description below or something.
Yep.
Um, I'll put it in the chat. Uh, hmm. Well, I am struggling to find other things to bring up here. Is there any final words you want to give to the audience?
Well, it's support the Shining Tomorrow Indiegogo when it comes, and buy a copy of Shining Tomorrow in May, so that I could bring you more stories.
Absolutely. Um, I hope you certainly succeed with your Indiegogo. I'll uh, I'm, I'm starting to get pretty. I'm starting to like schedule out way farther than I used to for these things. But I'll certainly make a blog post about it on my blog and Facebook and stuff like that when release the Indiegogo. And you've certainly convinced me at least to pick up a an ebook copy.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
I'll definitely support that much. And I hope other people decide that they want to perish horribly in a statue attack.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, it was a pleasure to finally get in touch with you and to speak with you, sir. Um, and I hope everything goes great.
All right. All right then. I'll be seeing you.
Yep.